Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The Rams had their chance to stay in the mix in the NFC playoff race, but couldn't get it done at home. Also, the Cavs are on fire to start the NBA season, and the Arizona Cardinals are just good. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The Miami Dolphins have been trying to figure out how to get their season on track. The Rams have been trying to stay in the thick of the NFC playoff race. And, well, one of those teams might have accomplished something on Monday night, a 23-15 win for the Miami Dolphins, a disheartening loss for the Los Angeles Rams. Doug McCain from Locked On Rams joins me now. And Doug, there were some puzzling kick-go calls by Sean McVay, clock management late in the game. What do you make of what you're seeing from the Rams right now, who, I'll be honest, I'm having a lot of trouble pinning down in terms of, are they good, are they bad, what are they?
Yeah, they're a team that definitely shot themselves in the foot in this one. And you had a lot of momentum, a 3-game winning streak. You had a chance to make it 4 on Monday Night Football, and then you lose. And now you're a game and a half back of the Cardinals in the NFC West. And like you said, I mean, it was definitely confounding some of these mistakes in this one. You gave up a 36-yard catch to Jalen Waddle on 3rd and long during the opening drive. You had a high snap go over Matthew Stafford's head towards the end zone. You had a false start on a field goal that led to a miss. You had a 3rd and 19 conversion in the fourth quarter that really hurt. The Bobby Brown had a penalty that really hurt the Rams on an unnecessary headbutt that led to 15 yards. You had Kyron Williams sticking his finger in the ear hole of Dolphins players. And, yeah, it was just a night of missed opportunities. The first time all season they don't get in the end zone. Only the second time with Stafford as their quarterback that he doesn't throw a touchdown. Just a very frustrating night for the Rams.
And so they are still in this at 4-5 in the NFC, but it's going to be tough. Like, they're probably going to have to get to at least 9, if not 10 wins. We've seen some really encouraging signs from guys like Brendan Fisk and Jared Verse, rookies that have had to come in and play a huge role for this defense. It was not expected to be the offense that was going to let them down. How do they get back to the winning ways that got them to a point where we could say they were making a playoff push?
Yeah, I mean, it was an encouraging night for the defense, really. I mean, they stepped up. I mean, you kind of wasted a pretty solid defensive effort. We also got to give the Dolphins credit. They kind of answered back every time they needed to tonight, and they're a team that still has some hope to making some run and making something out of their season. They were really circling this game with trying to get healthy. It kind of looked like the Dolphins again. But if you're the Rams, you really need to get this offense back on track. It was really an inexcusable night for this offense execution-wise. And all the talk in Rams land was the fact that you got Jonah Jackson back this game, and he was your big offseason acquisition. Steve Avila was back. But look, the offensive line, you weren't keeping Stafford vertical all night. Tons of pressure, too many unforced errors. And really, we know what this offense is capable of when they're at their best. And tonight just wasn't those nights. So really, you got to maintain the defensive effort and continue to get better if you're those rookies and second-year players, which they have done. And if the offense, you got to hold up to your end of the bargain.
What is your read right now on Matthew Stafford? Because he can make some unbelievable high-level throws, maneuver in the pocket, and zip some deep over route 30 yards, feathered over a defender and in between guys. And then you'll have a play like Kyron Williams wide open, low red zone, and you miss an opportunity. A guy who is supposed to be a driving force of your offense, a consistent guy on a very young team. It doesn't seem like he's playing to that level right now. How much of that is just him and you get as you age versus, hey, the team around him is pretty inconsistent right now too?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, that to me was the moment that this game was over when Matthew Stafford didn't find Kyron Williams there underneath on 3rd down. He would have walked in for a touchdown. It would have made a 5-point game with just over 6 minutes to play. And you don't capitalize in that situation. You saw the look in his eyes. He knew that he missed him. He's going to see the tape and knew that he missed him. And that kind of is the Matthew Stafford experience, if we're being completely honest. And outside of 2021, where it was this magical run, of course, the no-look pass in the Super Bowl, we know what he's capable of when he's at its best. He's a top 5 arm, but there's some moments where there's inconsistency, and you saw that on display tonight. He wasn't sharp for the most part tonight. And look, you really need to see him go on a run, because last season when the Rams were at 3-6, they went on that magical run to get to 10 wins and out of a surprise playoff berth. It was Matthew Stafford that had put it all together, and really he got hot towards the end. So he really needs to pick it up. I mean, he's missing throws. He got Puka back, got Cooper back, and I think that there's some of that kind of re-gelling process as far as him and Puka. Cooper made some big plays tonight, but yeah, just not enough from Matthew Stafford. I think, too, also he's missing his safety net. Tyler Higbee, he's been out the entire season. It's a significant injury. He's going to miss the entire year, and Colby Parkinson, their offseason pickup at tight end, just hasn't been that safety valve that Higbee has been for him. So I think there's a little bit of that as well.
You can stay up to date all year on the LA Rams by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Rams on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Thanks for making Locked On Sports Today your first listen. Coming up, the Cavaliers are starting the NBA season off better than anyone. Before we get to whether this will continue, the Cowboys are sticking with Cooper Rush. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more near you. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code Locked On for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Dak Prescott could miss the rest of the regular season with a serious hamstring injury. That is the Cowboys in a tough spot. That tough spot will not be Trey Lance's responsibility to lead the Cowboys out of, though. It will be Cooper Rush, at least for the time being. After a tough game against the Eagles, Rush was tabbed to start his second straight game Monday night against the Texans. Cowboys coach Mike McCarthy said of the decision, "Like I stood up here last week, everybody believes in him. How can you not, based off the way he's performed?" Except for the 13 of 26 for 45 yards and 2 lost fumbles this past Sunday, but it's not like Trey Lance has been any better. And speaking of quarterback questions, Bears head coach Matt Eberflus may not be able to sit for how hot his seat must be feeling, but he gave the vaunted "our quarterback is still our quarterback" speech. Eberflus committed to Caleb Williams as the starter, even as he said changes needed to be made to the offense.
For the game last night, and for going forward, I know what I said last night, and, we're in the process of that right now. We're less than 24 hours after the game, and we're in the process of that. Obviously watched the game last night and evaluated that, came in this morning. And, I had my normal meetings, normal Monday process. And again, there's got to be a change and adjustment to what we're doing, because we, obviously lost 3 in a row. But there's also the sight of, we're 4-5, haven't played our division yet, and we're in the process of starting that this week, in a big football game.
They're starting a season strong under a new head coach. And then there's whatever the Cleveland Cavaliers are doing so far this season. After a 119-113 win over the Chicago Bulls, the Cleveland Cavaliers are now 12-0. Danny Cunningham from Locked On Cavs joins me now. And Danny, it's not like this was a bad team last year. This was the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference. They almost won 50 games. But what has been the difference for them so far through the first few weeks?
I think the difference has been a couple of things. I look at coaching under Kenny Atkinson, as you mentioned, a new head coach in town. I think he has unlocked this roster on the offensive end of the floor. They were a very average offense last year throughout most of the season. Right now, they are the best offense in NBA history if you go by offensive rating. They've been phenomenal because Darius Garland has been absolutely terrific. He was named Eastern Conference Player of the Week on Monday, which was exactly 1 week after Donovan Mitchell was named Eastern Conference Player of the Week. And then you have Evan Mobley, who, not bad, right? Evan Mobley looks like a guy that was the number 3 overall pick, has really discovered himself on the offensive end of the floor to go along with being one of the best defenders in basketball. So that everything Kenny Atkinson has wanted to do, if it hasn't worked, the next thing he's gone to has worked beautifully. That's why they're 12-0.
There were questions, I think, when the Cavs made the Donovan Mitchell trade and even last season when they were having success, the fit between Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. Why has it worked? To your point about back-to-back weeks where you get these guys being the conference player of the week, why has it fit so much better this year?
So I think it's so much better this year than last year because Darius Garland looks like Darius Garland again. If you go back and watch some of the games that the Cavs had the first year Donovan Mitchell was in Cleveland, I thought that pairing was pretty good. It was a little bit too much of your turn, my turn at times. But then last year, Darius Garland has a fractured jaw, loses 15 pounds. He has some off the court things going on that I think really hampered his ability to play basketball at a high level throughout the year. None of that stuff has existed this year. He's been able to play freely. He's been able to play with a joy, he's mentioned, that has returned to his game. And I also think that the new offensive system Kenny Atkinson is running has the ball moving around a lot more. It's not nearly as pick and roll heavy as it was in the past. And I think that has really unlocked Darius Garland getting back to, being an all-star that he was before Donovan Mitchell arrived in Cleveland.
Okay, so the Boston Celtics coming off a dominant season last year. We know what the Philadelphia Big Three are by reputation, but we've not had really a chance to see them. The Bucks have been a mess so far to start this season. What is the ceiling for this Cavaliers team right now?
I think the ceiling is a championship. I'm not saying that they're going to go out and win a championship. I'm not saying they should be the favorites to do so, but this is a team that should be talked about as a team that is capable of winning the NBA Finals this year. They're that good. I don't think now they're not going to go undefeated. They're not going to go 82-0. But the way they're winning these games, it's not some mirage. They're not winning it because Donovan Mitchell has been white hot for 2 straight weeks. They're winning these games in a number of different ways, and I think a lot of it's sustainable. Again, I don't know that they're going to win the title. I don't know that they're going to win the Eastern Conference. But I think ceiling-wise, you have to think of this team as a team that is capable of winning the championship.
Again, I know it's really, really early. I should have mentioned the Knicks in that group of contenders as well in the Eastern Conference. How do you handicap them in a matchup? How do you think they match up with some of these other Eastern Conference true contenders?
It is difficult to say because it is so early, right? And you mentioned the Bucks have had a really rough start to the season. Philadelphia has too, and Joel Embiid hasn't played yet. New York is still figuring out who they are after a couple of really big offseason trades that they made. But right now, and I understand the playoffs don't start today, right now the Cavs should beat any team in the Eastern Conference other than the Boston Celtics. And I think that a series against Boston should be a close one. I went into this season thinking that the Celtics were all alone in the first tier of the Eastern Conference, and then that next group of teams, the one that you mentioned, were all sort of in that second tier. If you don't want to put the Cavs in the first tier because they haven't proven it in the playoffs the way the Celtics have, that's fine. I can understand that. But I don't think anyone else is in the same tier as the Cavs right now. I think they are a tier above New York, Philly, Milwaukee, all of those teams. If you don't want to put them with Boston, that's fine. But I don't think you can put them with the teams that are below them either.
Stay up to date on the Cleveland Cavaliers all year long by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Cavaliers on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, the Cardinals, the Arizona Cardinals. Yeah, those guys, they're good. Get ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets. If you win that first $5 bet, and that winning $5 bet could be some Tuesday night basketball. How about it? The Celtics are ludicrous favorites over the Hawks tonight. Like, so much you have to ask, are the Hawks a professional basketball team? FanDuel has the Celtics 15.5-point favorites. 15.5 in an NBA game. This is not college basketball. It's a lot of points. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Don't let the ineptness of the Jets fool you. The Cardinals are good, as our Locked On NFL scouting host Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino discuss.
The Cardinals checked Aaron Rodgers into the SmackDown Hotel. I'm going to come up with as many pro wrestling, Dwayne The Rock Johnson references that I can think of. They kicked the Jets' teeth in. They were all over the offensive line. I know Tyron Smith had a neck injury and left this game, so Olu Fashanu had to come in and play, and he's been getting some, I think, our maybe least favorite thing to hear for a rookie offensive line. He's been cross-trained at a bunch of different spots and stepping in at guard. And now he's a tackle. And Kyler Murray, I think, is the biggest piece of the puzzle for Arizona. He's playing some of the best ball of his career right now, it feels like.
Question, yeah. 22 of 24, 266, a touchdown. They run the ball well, 3 rushing touchdowns, $147 on the ground. Cardinals defense showing up, and that's been a really big revelation. They've held 3 of their last 4 opponents under 15 points. They're playing well, and I mean, rushing defense has been incredible as well. So it's such a fascinating situation because I think they're overachieving for their talent on the defensive side of the football. And offensively, we knew they can run it. There's a lot of hype for Drew Petzig, the offensive coordinator. Very creative scheme. It's coming together. Marvin Harrison's cranking up. Trey McBride's cranking up. And I think the question here with Arizona, and the Jets stink. We don't need to spend any time on the Jets. They're not the story of the NFL that the NFL tried to make you think they were going to be all summer long. It's about Arizona. It's about the first place Arizona Cardinals at 6-4, who have won 4 straight and 5 of their last 6. Their losses they lost to the Bills, the Lions, the Commanders, and the Packers. Like there's no shame in those losses. This is a good football team. And I know, like, you go back to even the hiring of Jonathan Gannon and just the direction, man, I thought it was going to take a lot longer than this. And I'm sure that there's probably better years coming for Arizona based on their trajectory. But going into the bye right now that they have this week and coming out with road dates against Seattle and Minnesota, Arizona feels like they're in a really good spot in this division and in the conference.
This is why you always have to be skeptical of the way we react, the way you react to a young first-time head coach. Remember, Jonathan Gannon was a meme machine. The cringeworthy videos, Eagles fans were celebrating to get him out of Philadelphia. And even without much talent, they scratched and they clawed and they fought every week for him. This year, upgraded talent, your quarterback comes back, and Kyler Murray is playing some of the best football of his career. I think of the team that I covered day to day, Matt LaFleur. His opening press conference was a stammering, sweaty mess. He did not look like the coach ready to take on a team with championship aspirations every year with Aaron Rodgers under center. And he's been the winningest coach in the league since he arrived. We have to be careful not to make assumptions early on these guys, or at least be ready to get off those priors as soon as we get the new information. This Cardinals team looks good, and Jonathan Gannon looks like a real quality NFL head coach. And finally, storming the field is really beginning to cost Ole Miss. Rebels fans stormed the field with 16 seconds left in the game against Georgia, which caused a delay on the field that had to be cleared so the game could finish. And then they subsequently stormed again. The receipt will show a $250,000 charge for Ole Miss's second field storming in as many years, and another $100,000 added because they stormed before the game ended. All $350,000 will go to Georgia per SEC rule. Should it happen again, Ole Miss will hand $500,000 to their opponent. Field storming is dumb and expensive, so doubly dumb. But also I did it once and it was really cool and it was really fun. So I also get it. I get it. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up on the next Locked On Sports Today, who will keep their job longer, Matt Eberflus or Mike McCarthy? We'll speculate wildly. So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.